The Metropolitan Police have begged the protesters not to protest in London next Saturday. Well, I'm sure they're going to cooperate about that. What do you think? I'm Granniopteryx. So, the headline here in the Telegraph: Met Police asks pro-Palestine activists to call off Armistice Day March. Scotland Yard has urged organisers to reconsider as Commissioner Sir Mark Rowley resisted calls to block the demonstration. So we're not going to do this by law. We're just going to ask nicely, please, pretty please. And he is asking this of people who do this sort of thing. Elderly poppy seller punched and kicked by pro-Palestine protesters. Jim Henderson, an army veteran, said he was driven out of Edinburgh station after being assaulted. This happened in Edinburgh. But it matters not. What do you think? Are the people in sympathy with Hamas going to worry about punching and kicking a 78-year-old man? Let's face it, the pro-Hamas people who infiltrated Israel had no trouble in doing the sort of violence to babies that I don't want to talk about in this particular video. Okay, so we have this old man here being beaten up. Apparently there was a demo in somewhere in America. I can't remember where it was now, but he was beaten up. The treatment he got was described by witnesses around as a battering, and during the course of that battering he was punched or pushed backwards, hit his head on the pavement and died very shortly thereafter. These are the sort of people that the Met Police is asking to call off their demonstration. To be polite. Hang on a minute, yeah, that's better. More than 70,000 people are expected to attend the demonstration in central London on Saturday to protest against Israel's bombardment of Gaza. What in fact they're doing is acting as tools of the Iranian regime to tell the Israelis not to defend themselves against the incursion of a bunch of barbarians. I mean, it's very difficult to call people barbarians, but what else can you call the people who did the sorts of things that they did when they did invade Israel? Senior officers were monitoring the developing situation, but did not believe there was enough evidence to meet the threshold to ask Suella Braverman to block what she described last week as a hate march. Well, yeah, it is a hate march, and she sent out this tweet. You know, tweets are really great for controlling this sort of situation, aren't they? The Met Police said something nice. She agreed with it. Job done. All right. Police had hoped instead to defuse the situation by appealing for a 1-week break in the Saturday protests. Yeah, like, be polite. These are people who... What, in fact, the Metropolitan Police is asking for is that these people act like English people and be polite and give everybody their turn to speak. Does he not realise he is not dealing with English people who are accustomed to giving the other person the right to speak? Most of the people on this Palestinian march, certainly the organisers, will be the sort of people who believe only in the heckler's veto. If you're stronger, you win. You shut them up and that's the end of it. You've won. You've got the argument. That's what's going on here. They are not the sort of people to whom you can appeal on the grounds of politeness, good manners, and being nice to your neighbours. if your neighbours happen not to agree with you. And there will be non-Muslims in this march as well, getting all fired up to the beat of the drum and the chants and all the rest of it, you know, that whole thing that takes up your whole being and allows you to escape in the ecstasy of the experience of the being at one with the crowd, because you're not at one with anybody else, least of all yourself. Being at one with a group of people who are against Britain because you have to be ashamed of being British and this takes you out of yourself. Those sorts of people, they'll be on the march, along with the people who really hate this country and want everything to be governed by Sharia law. And this is one way of doing it, to replace our culture with something else, to replace the March of Remembrance with the march about Palestine. We have to replace ourselves for a fascist religion. Now, that's what this is. And this is Granniopteryx here reminding you to click like, because that helps this video and my channel, whichever channel that is. All the links to all my platforms are in the description, including links to donation sites if you want to use them. Of course, I'm very grateful for donations, but clicking like is the best thing you can do for this video. Also, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so, and if you're on YouTube, remember to click the notification button so they let you know when I've uploaded something new. Okay, back to the protests. On Monday night, Mrs. Braverman said she welcomed the Met statement. I mean, yeah, right. Good. The Met asked them not to demonstrate. Yeah. The hate marchers, she said, need to understand that decent British people have had enough of these displays of thuggish intimidation and extremism, she said. The hate marchers need to understand that is the one thing they will never do. It's just not in their universe. Remember that video I made, well, just the last video I made, which showed the man that the Met Police had engaged as the chair of a committee to deal with these very incidents, these sorts of marches. And he turns out to be at a meeting where he is making what you might loosely describe as a speech, but actually it was just a string of slogans, and most of them to do with non-assimilation, self-victimization, cry bullying, and hate. That was the entire thing.
Free! Is that we will not be silenced. Say it! We will not be silenced. We will not be silenced. We will not be silenced. There is no justice. There is no justice. There is no justice. There is no justice. From the river to the sea.
And Mrs. Braverman is saying the hate marchers need to understand. They can't understand. You cannot understand anything while your brain is buzzing with those slogans that keep on repeating themselves inside your head so loud you don't have any other thoughts there, which is what is going on. So the Telegraph says that a former Hamas chief in the West Bank, Mohammed Sawalha, I believe he's got a council house, and I think he's the one who has the council house in Hendon, quite a Jewish area, but a quiet area, you see. He doesn't have to worry about walking through the streets in Hendon. I believe that's him. Just a minute, I'm going to check because I don't like to calumny even somebody like him. Let's see. Sawalha, Council House, Hendon. Yep. Oh, Barnet, sorry. Oh, no, it is Hendon. Hamas, here we are. Hamas chief who plotted for group lives in Barnet, ex-council house. It's a council house he bought at a discount. This is a foreign national who is a Hamas fugitive, and he was given a council house in Barnet, displacing other people here who might have needed that council house, who could have used it. Local people, people who aren't plotting against Britain. Anyway, let's carry on. The Telegraph can reveal a former Hamas chief in the West Bank helped fund the Muslim Association of Britain. That sounds innocuous, doesn't it? One of the 6 groups organising the Armistice Day March. He's living in a house he got at a discount that was made for people on low income, and he is funding a march that in effect is feeding fuel to the destruction of the British, well, the whole British way of life, really. Britain the way we know it now. 3 of the groups behind the march have directors who are linked to the proscribed terror organisation, with one director of the Palestinian Forum described as a senior Hamas operative, and another from Friends of Al-Aqsa having allegedly said they salute Hamas. And the Palestinian Solidarity Campaign said it was deeply concerned by the Met statement when the Met said, oh, please don't march on Armistice Day. Just wait a week if you feel that strongly about Palestinian victims of the war that Hamas caused. But they're deeply concerned about that. Anyway, I managed to find a decent version of the Laughing Policemen, which won't cause me a copyright strike, which is what happened to my last video where I used the Laughing Policeman as my outro. But this time I'm going to play you just a non-copyrighted version. So while you enjoy listening to that, think of the Met. They're so polite, aren't they?
He's never known to frown,
next time.
and everybody says he is the happiest man in town. He laughs upon good duty, he laughs upon his feet, he laughs at everybody when he's walking in the street. He never can stop laughing. He says he'd never tried, but once he did arrest a man and laughed until he cried. His jolly face is wrinkled, and then he shuts his eyes. He opened his great big mouth, it was a wondrous sight. He said, I must arrest you. He didn't know what for, and then he started laughing until he cracked his jaw.